Hello, my name is Victor Fuller, and I'm the Customer Experience Manager here at EverLogic. I'd like to welcome you to this training session on common end-of-day posting messages. In this training session, we will go over some of the more frequently seen error messages that are displayed when QuickBooks prevents the end of day from posting. An item or account mapping has changed. This is not an error. This is letting you know that you have changed something with the way EverLogic communicates to QuickBooks. You've adjusted a mapping either on the fly or permanently in Set Up Your Mapping. You have to give a reason. So simply fill in a reason to confirm the change of the mapping, hit record, and you're done. QuickBooks Error number 3180. QuickBooks errors can have the same error number but have different messages. For example, invoice or RO number 12529, there was an error when saving an invoice. QuickBooks error message, transaction amount must be positive. Or, there was an error when saving a bill. QuickBooks error message, this transaction action is not allowed for this user. The error can have a variety of causes but still have a similar solution. For the one illustrated here, close out of the accounting window and reopen it. QuickBooks Error 3120 is another error that you see frequently with the same number but different errors that apply to it. For example, this one here, the deposit cannot be found in QuickBooks. Usually what has happened here is in QuickBooks you have a customer with their name spelled one way and then in EverLogic it's a different way. For example, let's say that you put the customer in your QuickBooks as Jeffrey Smith, but in EverLogic you put him in as Jeff Smith. When you go to do your end of day and post over that deposit, QuickBooks is very particular on things being exactly the same, so it's going to say it's not the same person and you won't be able to apply that deposit to the customer in your QuickBooks. Couple things that you could do to fix this. You could double check the spelling of the name in both places and make sure that they match, or you can go into your system rules in EverLogic and turn off the auto apply payment rule by changing the rule to 0, and then that will allow you to send the deposit over and you can match them up manually in your QuickBooks. Another of the common messages you see with QuickBooks error number 3120 is a field value message. This is essentially telling you that information you're trying to send does not match information in QuickBooks. For example, let's say you sent over a deposit for Jeffrey Smith a week ago and you just closed the invoice or RO that deposit was tied to, but someone inadvertently deleted the deposit out of QuickBooks. So now when you try to send over the transaction, it can't find the deposit and the two can't tie together in your QuickBooks. Again, QuickBooks is very particular on what's going on. An easy fix is, again, to go into your system rules and turn off the auto apply payment rule by changing it to 0, send over your end of day, and then fix the problem manually in your QuickBooks. QuickBooks error number 3210 is another frequently seen message. This is essentially telling you the amount paid does not match the amount due in QuickBooks. It might happen if a portion of the payment's already been posted in QuickBooks. For example, let's say your bookkeeper received a payment from a customer and receipted it into QuickBooks, and then the front counter saw the payment as well and receipted it on invoice or an RO. Then when you go to send the end of day over, QuickBooks is telling you you cannot pay more than the amount due. It's catching the error for you, but it's stopping you from posting your end of day. Again, you can go into system rules and turn off the auto apply payment rule by changing it to 0. Then you can post the end of day over into QuickBooks and handle the fix of the problem in QuickBooks itself. QuickBooks error number 3100 is one that we get calls on frequently. For example, the message states the name Mullins, Ridge R of the list element is already in use. The name in quotations is already in QuickBooks as a customer or a vendor. QuickBooks is very particular in preventing you from having a customer and a vendor with the exact same name. What you'll need to do is change the name in QuickBooks, usually by adding a special character like a period or an asterisk behind the customer's last name. Then you can send the end of day over and then merge the customers in QuickBooks. QuickBooks error number 3140. The message states there is an invalid reference to QuickBooks AP accounts payable in the bill. QuickBooks error message, invalid argument. The specific record does not exist in the list. The information in EverLogic does not match the information in QuickBooks. Your first step to trying to resolve this 3140 error is to check the names and the amounts due. If they don't match when you try to send over the end of day, QuickBooks will throw back this error to you to let you know things aren't correct. If it's not that, the next recommendation that we have for you is to check to see if the transaction or the payments have already been manually entered. This is the more common resolve. You would need to delete those out of QuickBooks and then send the end of day over, therefore having EverLogic and QuickBooks create the transaction or the payment. QuickBooks error number 3180, the message states, there was an error when saving a bill. QuickBooks error message, this transaction is not allowed for this user. Usually the easiest resolve is to repost. When you try the second time, it'll send over the transaction. If the error occurs again, you'll need to get with someone else at the dealership that has higher QuickBooks authority than yours, because QuickBooks is blocking you from creating this in QuickBooks with your current permissions. If you receive the message error posting on accounts, warranties, and/or transactions with deposits, please go ahead and contact support. Unfortunately, we can't give you common reasons that this occurs. The support team and the programming team are going to need to do some troubleshooting to find out what is causing this message for you. The Populate Detail message occurs very infrequently. This is a communications issue between EverLogic and QuickBooks. Simply reopen the accounting window and try again. If that doesn't work, close out of EverLogic and sign back in, then reopen the accounting window. This will reestablish the link between EverLogic and QuickBooks. QuickBooks error number 3171. For example, the message here says invoice or RO number 18831. An attempt was made to modify an invoice with a date that is on or before the closing date of the company. The transaction that you're attempting to send over is prior to a closing date for a particular month that the books were closed, or the end of the year when your accountant has closed your books. The setting can be changed in your QuickBooks under your company preferences, but please check with your accountant before making that change to avoid any issues that you may inadvertently create. If you receive a message stating this value doesn't exist in QuickBooks, for example, the message we have here, a new payment type has been set up by someone at the dealership, but it has not been mapped from EverLogic to your QuickBooks. This can be mapped on a one-time basis from the accounting window or permanently from the Office Operations Set Map Code screen. Please see our video mapping an item from EverLogic to QuickBooks if you need further help with mapping. If you receive a database error, for example, this one here, there was a problem attempting the transaction to the database, this error can occur anywhere in EverLogic. Try the action again. If the problem persists, contact support with a detailed description of the steps that were taken before the error appeared. That way, support can get with the programming department to research what caused the problem for you. On behalf of myself and all of us here at EverLogic, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for attending our training session on common end-of-day posting messages. If you have any questions, please click Contact support at the bottom of your screen in EverLogic.